This is Gökhan Ertaylan. I'm from VITO, which is a RTO, Research and Technology Organization, and I am responsible for the Digital Biosystems group. There I'm the research lead, and we work on digital twins and regulatory science. Real-world data and synthetic data, they provide the contextualization. For example, you can augment the lacking data. You can try to think about what-if scenarios, or you can try to see, in the case of software medical devices, for example, you can try to introduce noise and look into the robustness. In the case of real-world data, it's becoming more and more important because the things that we are building, we are realizing that we need to look into the product life cycle instead of a one-off evaluation. So therefore, we need to collect data about from the life cycle of this product, from the early on, during, but also after in the post-market stage, to be able to evaluate them better and try to see their impact in real life. In Realm, we do synthetic data specifically for software medical devices, and we try to evaluate, we try to use them in the evaluation process, and then to try to look into the robustness, try to look into the what-if scenarios of these software models in real-world settings. And we also have a post-market surveillance part, which looks into the software in how it functions in real life. So we allow the software to report back certain parameters to the platform to allow us to see their performance in real life. So we try to include both sides, both the post-market but on the evaluation side. They find untrustworthy because the problem is we don't have a proper standards, but also levels of trust built in for certain sensors, for certain feedback loops within the system that I can trust this and I can trust this less. We don't have a system built in, and we don't have an agreed system across kind of different regulators either. So I think the main problem is we really need to come up with these standards of trust for these real-world evidence. What kind of data, what kind of evidence we want, and how do we find it trustworthy? I mean, to agree across both the regulators and the HTA bodies to actually kind of streamline this process. Also, I think this is the main challenge. There are other issues, but I think that's one of the importance. And the second is that we also have the problem of this data, which will be collected as a real-world evidence. So you would be collecting this data from public, from post-market surveillance, but the data standards don't match the regulation of these data access doesn't allow us to collect them timely. So we have a lot of issues actually getting access to the data in the first place. So even if we have it, and then we need to agree about the quality of it. So we have kind of two-step process that we both need to achieve before we can say that real-world evidence is part of our innovation, let's say, life cycle. I think we need to work closer. So the regulatory scientists, the regulators, HTA bodies, and on top of it, the pharmaceutical legislations, the biomedical device legislations, plus these fields. I think they are a bit built are on their paths, which they don't talk to each other much. So I'm realizing more and more that we need to come up with the agreements on this standards, but as well as the learnings from our side. And the more we interact as in the cluster, the more we realize that we have the same goals and the things that we want to achieve are the same. So the way to reach there is to actually propose them together, but also clearly highlight what are the specific things for our field. So I think this is something that we are doing pretty well in the MetReal cluster. Trustworthy evidence means that you need to be precise about which group of the population that you're helping, how exactly you're helping, and when does the boundary of helping ends, right? So it's basically something that it's not you build a product. It can be a pharmaceutical, it can be a process, it can be a medical device, software, etc. You need to be able to show that for this target and the context of use, what you are proposing and what you are working is working as intended, which is precisely registered before you start your trial, and you demonstrate with can be with sensors, it can be with registries and etc. That's what you propose is working as intended, as you proposed earlier, within the subgroups that you intend. So I think for me, we need to be precisely define where the boundaries are when this real-world evidence is actually intended to be collected for. That is really important. I think it's going to be more built into the entire product lifecycle than just post-market surveillance or just pre-market entry. We really need to think about it across the product lifecycle. I think it's really important that we need to think about the same things potentially across the product lifecycle if we're thinking about evidence of this is working.